Hey there, Vernacular Faithful. Redcoat here, and we're going to be talking about the last part of the philosophy of play, which is experience. Now, remember, it's got four parts, which is recognition, uncertainty, adaptation, and experience. And experience is actually taking the place of what was originally referred to as vertigo in man, play, and games. Now, vertigo was in reference the term vertigo. The reason why I wanted to change it is because it connotes the idea of high flying, high speed, high action things, falling through the air, snowboarding down a mountain, or driving a car really, really fast. And there's also the element of being dizzy or that sort of thing. However, that's not everything that happens when one is in play, and so I feel that that term is a bit reductive. So I expanded it to be experience. And this allows us to encapsulate not just the feelings of quick movement or momentum or that sort of thing, but also simpler things such as touch, taste, hearing things, just the general aspect of being. And that is experience in a nutshell. It is the element of being, but it goes a little bit beyond that because experience applies to video games, and even though we're not expressly in the game doing the thing and directly feeling the stuff, we still empathically experience what is happening. It is presented in such a way where we can sense and understand what feelings are intended to be there, and in doing so, create those feelings in ourselves. So this is one. This is a little bit more tricky because of because of that idea of empathic experience. Now, to be sure, like I said, there are games where you just directly feel everything. Like if you're playing tag in real life, you directly feel the sense of the wind through your hair as you're running. You feel it when somebody touches you and tags you, or heaven forbid, you trip and you fall and you roll on the ground a little bit. And the same is true for any physical sport. You directly feel swinging the bat, holding the bat in your hands. You directly hear the announcer shouting. You directly feel it when you get beamed in the head with a ball. But when it comes to video games, the main thing that you're directly feeling is the controller in your hands. But everything else is either empathically presented to you or presented in pieces. Like I could say that the other thing that you directly feel or you directly experience is sound from games. Even though usually it's an imitation of something, but if the music is there, that is directly experienced. If you have a rumble in your game, in your controller, that is directly experienced. What isn't directly experienced is your character on screen getting hurt. But through the magic of presentation, we can imitate that and show it in such a way where you understand the amount of damage that has been dealt, and that can be from the element of the UI, that can be from screen shake, that can be from the character himself having a really powerful animation that shows that he took a lot of damage, and that can create an empathic response in the player where they're like, oh man, that looks like that really hurt. And what's interesting is that this is also a thing. I mean, this is a thing that is done in movies, to get the person into the feeling of the movie. Where sometimes they'll make it so that you want to feel what the protagonist is feeling, and so they present it in such a way. Like they'll present it from the first person. Like one of the more common scenes I've seen is a flashbang is thrown down, and you get wow, and they They produce the ringing sound of in the ear. They blur the screen, and they have the camera positioned such that it feels like the person's getting back up or trying to crawl up off of the ground. And so that's to create an empathic response of, oh my gosh, that's what that's like, kind of thing. And some people, well, one of the interesting things about experience is some people respond more strongly to that than others. But at the end of the day, it's still conveyed in such a way that you understand what that experience is, and thus feel either emotions or imagine the feeling of the thing happening. And so that's experience from both the physical direct experience standpoint and the empathic video gaming standpoint. And to be sure, I mean, like I said, can happen throughout a whole bunch of different things, and you can have an empathic experience in a conversation if somebody describes something really, really well. You can actually, like, some people can actually get physically sick if you describe something disgusting, and they viscerally respond to it. But that's one of the elements of play is experience, and even just a conversation, the experience of hearing the words come to you, hearing somebody laugh, yourself laughing at something happening, being happy for a moment. And this is another element of when we get back to video games, because again, you're not directly feeling anything that's happening in the game, but it can still trigger direct feeling of emotions. Um, that kind of cathartic response that we get from things like Macbeth or other tragedies, where the character on screen or in the story has gone through so much pain and despair that you cannot help but respond to that empathically, where their sadness becomes your sadness, and now you feel it. And it's a really tricky thing, because you can get those kinds of responses of feeling the majesty of a moment, or feeling love, feeling happiness, from being presented character who is in love, and it's been presented in such a real way that you feel it yourself, or you intimate it into yourself. And so it's one of those things that a lot of more story narrative based games try to get to. Even action-based games can get some direct, visceral feelings out of people. Particularly, feeling powerful is one of the more common ones. A lot of power fantasy games do that. Feeling scared is one that happens a lot with a lot of horror games. Um, it's a little trickier to create those feelings of serenity and peace, but those happen as well. I think of games like Flower or Journey, which particularly lives off of not just a feeling of peaceful exploration, but also just that wanderlust, that sense of being out in the world and finding things and not quite understanding everything that's going on around you. Even a game like Dark Souls can create that sense of wonder in a person just by, moving your character through this world and being like, what is this? Where did this come from? And all of the mystery surrounding those games creates that empathic sense of wonder, and in a sense makes it so that it's something that you directly feel. So that's the experience angle of play. And again, it's a little bit simpler, because at the end of the day, it's just not as complex of a thing. It's a thing happens and you feel something in response. And it might be an empathic thing or it might be conjured response from indirect pieces that your brain puts together and then generates a feeling in you. Um, or it could be a direct feeling where you are literally playing the game of football and you just got tackled and you know what that feels like. Or you caught the pigskin and you've got it in your hands and you're running down the field and you're the guy. You're the guy. You're feeling like the hero of the story right then. Um, so that is the fourth part of play in a nutshell. Experience. So I hope this gave you some things to think about, and thank you for taking the moment to listen to me talk about all of this. Yeah. So this is Redcoat signing off. Play the games you want to play, boyos.